Hi, so as requested, here's a video on how I do synthetic dreadlocks, how I make them out of Kanekalon jumbo braid. I'm going to show you a couple of different methods, using the crochet method of course, but a couple of different sealing methods to give you a really neat finish. Here is the synthetic Kanekalon jumbo braid that we use. I've chosen this very fluorescent shade of bright orange so that you can see really clearly what I'm doing, and we can go through a couple of ways that you can get really nice, neat, perfect synthetic extensions for your clients. Right, so this is how the Kanekalon jumbo braid comes. I ordered this from Cyberlocks. It's a very useful website that does pretty much every colour under the sun, so you'll be able to find what you're looking for on Cyberlocks. So we can, as you can see, it's a long braid, so you got it's a really long length of hair basically. You should be able to get about 7 to 10 out of a pack if you're lucky. So let's see how many we can get out of this. So removing the band, there's another little rubber band here. And there's one just here as well, which I will snip using my scissors, just because it can get a bit tangly otherwise. So just comb out the braid using your fingers, and then you have this lovely long section of hair. It's much longer than any length that you're going to get in human hair. I'm going to pinch off a small section. Synthetic hair does, when back combed, it goes a lot thicker than human hair, so you might want to pinch a smaller section than you might do if you're working with human hair. So I'm going to go with something like this. This is my section. So in fact, I've changed my mind. I'm going to half that because this is a double-ended section of hair essentially. You've got double the thickness and the length, so I can use half this amount and still get the same thickness when I'm back combing this section, and then you've just got a little loop at the top here. So this is the top loop, and we're going to clamp that down using our clamp onto the table. Okay. So as you would do, this is a bit like when you're clamping your weft of human hair onto your table or onto your surface. You're doing the same thing with this synthetic hair. So you can use any sort of comb for this. You can use a plastic tail comb, or you can use a metal one, just like the ones that you were provided in your training. There are also some sort of bristly pet combs, metal pet combs, that are very good for this. I've misplaced mine today, but those I will show you. I'll post them to the group so that you can see what I mean by that. They're really great for backcombing synthetic hair with. But I'm using this today, so I'm just going to start the same as I would do with the human hair. And you'll notice it feels different to the hair that you've been working with so far. Every brand, every type of fibre that you work with will feel different at this stage, so it's worth just trying them all. I'm just going to speed this process up for you so that it doesn't go on forever and ever. Right, so here is your back-combed and palm-rolled section of synthetic jumbo braid. So it doesn't look so different from a human hair section at this stage, and there's a couple of different ways that you can work this to get it more into the sort of dread consistency. So you can crochet it the same as you would do the extensions that you've been working on so far, just using maybe a triple hook or one of your larger hooks. But one of the things to remember about synthetic hair is you don't need to do as much crochet work as you would do on human hair, because you will be heat sealing it at the end. And the heat sealing process is going to smooth out all the outer edges, it's going to relax the hair so it's going to sit more comfortably on the client's head, and it's going to hang more naturally as well. It won't be quite so sort of stiff and straw-like. Yeah, and it's just going to give a really nice, neat outer surface. So there's no use in sitting here for hours trying to crochet it perfectly neat when you're just going to come and do that with steam anyway later. So we're just using the crochet to mesh as much of the loose hair in as possible. Etc. So another way you can use to crochet synthetic hair at this stage is to pull out some loose, I'm going to use a different size crochet hook for this, I'm going to use my pink 0.6, is pull out some loose hair from the sides, just with your fingers teasing that out and wrapping it. So, and keeping the tension with these fingers again, as you were shown in your training. So keeping the tension with those and wrapping this loose hair around the dread, and then crocheting that securely in place. This is the sort of wrappy synthetic that you'll see. There's quite a few different styles out there, and you may very well find your own style, but I'm just showing you how some people do this wrappy style, which is, and sometimes this can be quite extreme. As you can see, I'm sort of like doing it quite subtly, so you might not notice that it was wrappy unless you looked really, really closely from what I'm doing. But some people really go to town on this, and they'll get like a long piece like this, twist it around, and almost create a sort of spiral effect with it. And then that will, can you see that? And then that will kind of create almost like some bumps along the length, which for some people, if that's their style, that's their like sort of, that's their trademark, is this sort of spirally wrappy effect that creates these lumps and bumps, which could be interpreted as being a bit more natural looking, but it just depends on what people are interested in. If they like, if your style is very, very neat and straight and with a perfect finish, like what I sort of go for with my work, then you'll be doing more of this sort of style. But if you want to experiment to get this sort of like twisty, lumpy, bumpy sort of effect, then you can try pulling out longer sections of this hair and wrapping it round and down the length, leaving spaces in between. There, that's a sort of better example. Can you still see? Yeah. So that almost gives a sort of braided effect, which you can then use your hook to crochet. It's actually a little bit faster as well. You can cover more area faster if you're in a hurry with your synthetics. But we can always just use the triple hook and just do just some light circular motions with the triple hook, and you'll get a more sort of, you know, a neater effect like what we were going for with your human hair extensions. For the ends, can you see the ends? Yeah. For the ends of your synthetics, you can either leave them long like this, similar to how you would have your the ends on your human hair extensions. As you can see, this synthetic Kanekalon jumbo braid is quite textured. It's almost got a crimped sort of consistency to it, so it's quite frizzy. So when it comes to sealing them, which I'll show you in a moment, you seal the length of the dread, and then the ends are going to need to be, we use a blow dryer down the length of the extension, and that's going to straighten the ends out. You can't use straighteners on this hair because it will just melt straight away. It's like sort of Barbie doll hair. But you can also use your steamer or a steamer to straighten this hair out as well. As long as there's moisture involved, you can use heat. Okay. So I have two sections of the synthetic hair here. I have one section that I've backcombed and crocheted. I've used a little bit of our regular crochet method on this, and I've used a little bit of the wrappy crochet method where we've wrapped a little bit of the hair around in a spiral, and it's sort of given it that sort of textured look. I've also got this just backcombed section, and that's just backcombed and palm rolled, and this is a section that I'm going to demonstrate another sealing method on, where you literally just twist and seal with a steamer, a garment steamer. So you're going to see two different ways to make synthetic dreads. Okay, so we're about to steam our backcombed section. No crochet has been done on this. So it's just a case of getting a nice tight twist on this section, and I do this by, it's like a palm roll, the same as you do a normal palm roll but in one direction. So if I put my palm under here and just twist like that really tight, and then pinch to hold the tension, and I'm going to do that all the way down like this. But using your palms to do the twist really helps to get all of those loose hairs and wrap them around the section. But don't twist too tight, because otherwise it curls up on itself. So we're going to let it slack a little bit more than that. There we go. And then we're going to use our garment steamer, which I have just handy here. And then using that, you're just steaming the length of your twist, just for a few seconds. So if I let that go now, that's actually fine, but I'm going to just retwist it again, do the same thing again. And steam this time from above. The steam, it can get a lot hotter because of the moisture. So it means you can apply a lot more heat to this hair without it melting. Okay, so we have a section like this. This is just a very quick demonstration really to show you that method of steam sealing your section. Something like this with the twist, I would recommend only using this method when you are braiding your extension in, because if you're going to cut here and attempt to crochet this into someone's hair, crocheting the section is just going to sort of loosen your twist. So you're going to end up with a kink at the join between your client's natural hair and this twisted synthetic section. So I would really only recommend making your extensions this way if you are planning on braiding them in, and that would be, you'd have a much neater loop than this, but that would entail threading your client's hair through this loop and braiding down the length. Okay, so here is the previously crocheted section of synthetic hair that is in need of sealing. I've got it laid out on an ironing board with a towel over it. I've got my jug of water here, which has got just clean water in it really at the ready. I've got my iron, which is heating up. This iron I use solely for the purpose of sealing dreadlocks with, because if you use your iron that you use on your clothing, sometimes, I don't know if you can see, but it's got a coating of when you're ironing onto the damp tea towel, sometimes you just get some sort of sticky residue on your iron, and I think it kind of ruins your iron for the purposes of ironing clothes. So get yourself an iron that is specifically for making dreads. We have a clean tea towel here, which I have dampened. I've dipped it in the water, so it's actually quite wet. That's what you want for this purpose of sealing this dread. So I'm going to lay my wet, damp tea towel out on the ironing board like this, and lay my dread on top of it. I'm then going to fold the tea towel over, find my dread, and almost, you want it quite tight in there. So it's almost like, I don't know, if you've ever rolled a cigarette or something, it's a bit like that. You want to wrap the tea towel quite tightly around your dread. You could even roll it up in it a little bit. Okay, like so. And then using your iron, and you can hear the sizzle, and you want to press it down quite firmly. And just do that on the whole length. So this is using steam in a similar way to when we use a garment steamer. Obviously the iron is creating the steam through the wet tea towel, so it's not applying heat directly to the synthetic hair, which would melt it, but because the tea towel is damp, it just creates a little steam bath for it. So once you've done that, because you've just done one surface, so it can create a bit of a flatness to it, so we're just going to roll it over one more time and do the other side. Oops. And already I'm hearing that it's not sizzling as much, which means that the tea towel is drying out. So let's see how we've, yeah, that's not bad. It's smoothed it out a fair bit. I would say that probably needs a little bit longer, to be honest. But it has started to seal it, give it a slightly neater. Let's wet the tea towel again. And I'm just doing this in my jug. I'm going to turn the iron up a little bit so it's a bit hotter. It's actually now on maximum. It was just below. So perhaps if we position the dread closer to the edge of the tea towel, and then there's less fabric to wrap around, and that might give us a bit more heat on the extension. That's looking a lot smoother, a lot straighter now. And for the end, I would do the same thing, just fold over a bit of this tea towel. I'm going to push that down really firmly, and then I'm just going to pull the extension through, because keeping the tension on the end is going to help straighten it out a bit. If you see how that's had that sort of straightening effect, and that really only works if you're using the damp tea towel or the steam to straighten this hair. If you try and apply an iron or straighteners to it, it's just going to melt off. So yeah, I'll just show you that one more time. I'm going to dampen my tea towel again. So to straighten the end, I'm laying it in the middle of the damp tea towel, folding it over, pushing my iron down, and then just slowly pulling the extension out the other side. And that gives us a lovely straight silky end, which you can also blow dry at the end to try and get that to straighten out even more.
Lovely. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so this is the last sealing method that I use. I'm using a piece of old coat hanger threaded through the top loop of my crocheted synthetic dread section. I'm just holding it over a bucket in my studio, but you can always do this in the bathroom. Over the bath is probably the easiest place to do it, to reduce the risk of getting everything soaking wet. So suspending my section over the bucket, I have a pre-boiled kettle of water, but you could use a saucepan of boiling water equally, because the saucepan you'll probably get a bit more water in there, and you can be boiling it on the hob rather than in the electric kettle, which is probably going to cost you more money energy wise. So I'm just going to, starting at the top, I'm going to pour, just gently pouring the boiling water down the length of the section, and this is going to help to get all of the any loose hairs to be sort of set in place down the length. So I can move the kettle down the length of the section so that the boiling water just reaches every portion of it. If you make sort of 10 to 20 at a time, you can actually pour the boiling water down the length of a bunch of them all hooked over the same piece of wire. It will save you time, because obviously this is quite time consuming, pouring it just down one section. You may as well do sort of 10 or 20 at a time if you're doing it this way. So wait for that to cool down for a few seconds before touching it with your fingers, obviously, because it's boiling. But you can just test it. Okay. And then you can just sort of hang it out to dry somewhere so that you can, it'll just drip dry. And then that's your sealed section. Just all of those loose hairs just going down, facing down the length of the extension, and then that will be ready to if you're planning on crocheting this into your client's hair, you can trim it off here, loosen this top portion, and crochet it in with their natural hair, or you can use the loop that you created at the start and thread their hair through this loop and braid down this portion of the extension. Okay, so that is my synthetic dreadlock creation method, sort of summed up in a video as you requested. If there's anything that you feel like I haven't covered, please feel free to ask questions on the Facebook group. But yeah, hopefully that will leave you feeling a little bit more confident in making your own synthetic extensions for your clients. So yeah, great. Thank you very much. See you soon.